Hey guys, it's Phil coming at you today with another video with different varying topics. There's going to be some DSM, there's going to be some research, and there's just going to be some bear out little application questions. Today I will use the acronym as applicable, the SFAREAFI, the Safety, Feelings, Assess, Refer, Educate, Advocate, Facilitate, and Intervene, and I'll explain how to break those down when those come in. Again, I would just like to say thank you to everyone that has attended my study groups as well as watching my videos and or engaging in the individual tutoring. People are passing, and it's amazing to hear and see that people are enjoying my style as well as content to help guide them to get the advantage on there. And yeah, thank you guys so much. I can't express enough how much I appreciate it. You guys are all amazing, and yeah, let's get into this video, guys. So the first question that we have is, a social worker at a community mental health clinic is asked by your supervisor to evaluate the effectiveness of their substance use disorder program. What is the first step the social worker should do? So we have a community health agency. Supervisor wants us to evaluate the effectiveness of the program. So here we're going to be looking at more of a recall / application. We need specific research style terms to guide us to the answer here. But we're not going to be able to apply the acronym. So A, identify the overall goal of the substance use program. B, gather insight from clients being served by the program. C, identify an effective assessment tool to utilize to evaluate the program. D, evaluate the interventions being delivered to clients and specific client outcomes. So D is going to be incorrect here, because you wouldn't really be evaluating the interventions being delivered, because that would be later on within it. Identifying a way to assess the specific agency wouldn't be incorrect here, because we ultimately wouldn't know what assessment tool we need until we actually figure out what we're trying to measure here. So picking the assessment tool would be difficult without the information of what type of evaluation or program evaluation we're doing. So to gather insight from the clients being served by the program is important. However, it's not the first thing that you would like to do, because to know what specific clients we need to discuss or talk to, we need to know exactly what we're trying to figure out here. So the first thing that you would always need to do when it comes to doing a program evaluation, program development, a research study, or even working with a client specifically on a one-on-one basis, you would need to understand what they're trying to do and come in with. So that is the answer here, is we need to identify the overall goal, so that way we know, and it'll help guide what we're specifically going to do within the next steps. So the second question, a school social worker has completed an intake assessment with a 12-year-old boy who was referred by his teacher due to inability to stay on task. The boy reports feeling overwhelmed with everything that is happening at home. The boy stated that he finds it difficult to sleep, experiences low mood, and often will become anxious when entering into large crowds. What should the social worker consider first when working with the boy? So we always want to make sure that we figure out what type of social worker we are. So we're a school social worker in this situation. We're completing an intake assessment, so it's the first time encountering this person. The client that we're going to be working with, or the target person, is the 12-year-old boy, and it's important to know that they're referred by the teacher. And the main reason for it is the inability to stay on task. However, when talking with the boy specifically reports, so that's important to know that it's information specifically elicited from the client, and they're feeling overwhelmed and and it's everything at home, so we aren't really sure why they're feeling overwhelmed, so that might be a key thing. And he finds it difficult to sleep, experiences low mood, and often will be anxious when going into large crowds. And we're looking at a first question here. So we're going to be looking at an application, and we're looking at an application for the sole reason that we have a client breakdown, and we need to be able to analyze, decipher, and identify the key social work terms or things in this client situation and be able to prioritize the specific thing. And since it is an application, we will be able to apply the acronym. So let's keep that in mind as we look at the different answer responses. A, inquire about the boy's perspective on the current situation, would be of feelings because it's gathering their specific subjective type of view. Assess when the behavior began, gave us right away, would be an assessment of getting the objective type materials from the situation. I'm providing information on the ways to help the boy stay focused. We're looking at an education option here because we're providing something, but in this case it's information, so that would be education. Refer the boy to an outpatient clinic would be a refer, and that's us putting the services outside of the school in this type of situation. So due to the acronym, education would be out because providing education to help the boy stay focused would be something we would like to do. However, we don't know where or why the inattention is happening. So providing the education would be undertreating this client at this point in time, which would be considered unethical. So then the next lowest rung would be referring them out to an outpatient clinic. So referring them out to an outpatient clinic would be incorrect here because it wouldn't be gathering the appropriate information to make that referral, as well as we need to do our due diligence as the school social worker and gather as much information as we possibly can, whether that be objective and or subjective information, which leads us to the next highest rung, which would be assess. Assessing here would be incorrect because we'd be skipping right over what the boy's view is and just going right into the objective information, and you want to get their view to, one, start building a therapeutic relationship, and two, as well as to get and make sure that what they're going through is currently recognized. So feelings would be the correct answer here because since they're referred by the teacher and the boy's dropping you hints that you need to inquire more about him, such as feeling overwhelmed with everything that's happening at home. We're not sure what's happening at home, so asking him specifically about his view of his home environment would be helpful. So that's how you'd answer that one. What is the most effective treatment for someone struggling with borderline personality disorder? So we're looking at an effective treatment and then borderline personality disorder. So here we're looking at a specific recall here. So we'd need to know the specifics and or be able to apply the recall strategy. So I'll break it down with the specifics on each treatment and then do the recall strategy. So cognitive behavioral, helping someone change their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So, and the dialectical, helping someone develop a better connection between their emotional reaction and rational part of decision making, solution focused, helping someone overcome a specific goal. And then group based is any treatment that involves a group component. So group based therapy would be too vague and doesn't and could be included in A and B as well. So D would be incorrect because it's super vague and doesn't provide a lot of insight. Cognitive behavioral here would be incorrect because yes, we're wanting someone to become more connected with their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors and help them overcome specific behaviors, but that type of therapy is more or less for like behavioral changes and more or less of the other type of disorders. Solution focused here would be incorrect because someone with borderline may have specific tasks that they would like to get done and overcome, but we need more long-term because the disorder is deemed more of long-term services as well as contact with that. So solution focused would not be the best. So that would lead us with dialectical behavioral therapy. So borderline personality disorder was the main disorder that this type of therapeutic intervention was based on, as well as like substance use style. But so the recall strategy that I was alluding to is breaking down the word borderline. So it means that someone is on two specific different type of trajectory. And anyone that knows dialectical behavioral, so it's often associated with a Venn diagram, which means there are specific sides and someone with borderline personality are occupying two lines at the same time. And then dialect is just different thoughts as well as different variations. So someone with borderline personality is somebody that's occupying multiple things at the same time, engaging in relationships as well as self-harm based on the type of relationships and negative reactions they're having upon their life. So question number 4. A social worker at a nonprofit agency has been working with a 40-year-old male for 6 months. In the most recent session, he reports that he feels like his wife does not appreciate him, and whenever he is around her, has the urge to yell at her. However, instead he will compliment her. Which defense mechanism best explains the man's behavior? So we're at a nonprofit agency. Our person of interest is a 40-year-old male, and we've been seeing this person for 6 months. He reports that he feels like his wife does not appreciate him. Whenever he's around, has the urge to yell at her. Instead, he will compliment her. So the defense mechanisms here, sublimation is substituting a negative behavior for a positive one. Reaction formation, react in a different formation, i.e. being mad at someone and telling them you love them. Displacement is putting your emotions into a different place that is less threatening, i.e. punching a pillow, rather than punching someone you are mad at. So projection, propelling your actions or thoughts onto someone else. So within this person is saying that they want to yell at them, but instead they compliment them. So sublimation wouldn't be correct here, because for that one you're often substituting one behavior for another behavior, and this isn't really a behavior that they're substituting. Projection would be incorrect because no one's doing a behavior and put it on to somebody else. They're more or less changing their reaction to something. Displacement, they're not putting their emotions in a different place to anything that is less threatening. They're not substituting a different behavior. This is more or less around how someone is reacting to a situation. And I keep using that term because the way it is, they're reacting in a different formation or the opposite of what they would want to do. He wants to yell at her, but instead he is providing a positive answer and or response to her way. So we'll move that down. So which medication is most likely to be prescribed to someone with generalized anxiety disorder? So this is a recall, and very distinct recall here. So we'd have to really know our medications and which different disorders are paired with them. So starting with anxiety, or Xanax, sorry. We'd be looking at anxiety, and this is looking at generalized anxiety disorder. Lithium, we're looking at bipolar disorder. Wellbutrin, we're looking at depression. And then Celexa, we're looking at depression / mood disorder, depending on what's going on with the specific person. So with that, we don't really have a mood disorder. We don't have any depression cited. We don't have any bipolar disorder cited. So we're looking at a front runner being Xanax, because it's the most likely thing for someone to be taking when they have a anxiety disorder, given there's other alternatives. But in this specific question, it's asking for that. So the last question: a social worker is completing an intake assessment with a 29-year-old female who reports feeling more depressed the past 3 months. The client reports that she has a history of self-harm and frequent thoughts of suicide. The client denied ever having any plans to actually complete suicide, but is not opposed to the idea. The client reports that she would like to develop positive strategies to help her feel better. What should the social worker do first to help the client? So a social worker is completing an intake assessment. So that's what we're specifically doing. So it's an intake. 29-year-old female. And she's feeling more depressed the past 3 months. So whenever there's a length of time, that's important to take note of it. She has a history of self-harm and frequent thoughts of suicide. She denied ever having plans to complete it, but isn't opposed to the idea. And what she's actually coming in for is to develop positive strategies to feel better. So we're looking at our first question here, and whenever we see first, we're either going to be thinking application and or reasoning. So here we're looking at a application question. So that being said, we can apply the acronym. So let's keep in mind that, and again, it's an application because it's a client specific scenario, and we need to know social work terms as well as be able to apply and decipher through and prioritize what is most important with working with this client. So process her feelings of depression. We're looking at a feelings option. B, work with the client, develop a safety plan to address her suicidal ideations. We're looking at safety here, as well as intervene depending on what the significance of the symptomology is. C, assist the client to develop more positive strategies to improve her mood. So we're assisting her to do something. So we're definitely going to be looking at an intervene, because the social worker is specifically performing and doing actions. D, refer the client to a self-help group to help process her feelings. So we're looking at our refer/intervene here. And then if we're following our good old acronym hierarchy, refer the client to a self-help group to help her process her feelings would be out, because it's important to have her connect with supports if she would like to, but that wouldn't be the first thing that we would like to do. And then assist the client to develop positive strategies to improve her mood. That's what she's specifically coming into do, but we would not be looking at that as being the absolute first thing that we would need to do when helping this client. So then it begs the question to, is it feelings and or safety or intervene? So it would depend on what we're going to say B is classified as. Is it classified as a safety or intervene? So with here, so since there is a history of self-harm and frequent thoughts of suicide, and it does say that she does never had any plans to do it. However, since there's not opposition to the idea of suicide, that would make B a safeties option, since there is actually a probability that there could be potential harm to the client. But let's say the suicidal ideation cited in the question, she said, I just have thoughts, they're fleeting, they don't have a whole lot of bearing within my motivation to actually do it. However, since she's not opposed to the idea and the thoughts are frequent, we want to make sure that we best help the client by developing a safety plan. Yes, her feelings are very important and we want to recognize them. However, at the end of the day, we have to make sure that the safety is addressed before that we tap into the specific feelings around the situation. So the correct answer here is definitely going to be B for the safety option. So those are all the questions that I have. I do offer private tutoring for those that are interested in that. I can go over specific content related areas or just more practice question breakdown and analysis like I do in my videos. I work with you to teach you how to do this specific strategy and slow down and take it and get more confident around taking the exam, because everyone that's watching this video has the intellect and ability to do anything they would like to do, especially pass this exam. Like, even if you've taken it and not done well in the past, like, each time is you getting closer to what you would specifically like to do. Comment any feedback on the video, what you thought of the questions, what you thought about the strategies, how many specific questions you got correct out of the 6 that I went over. Like the video, like smash the heck out of the thumbs up, so that way people that aren't aware of my style or specific approach become more aware of it, because that's how YouTube generates people to the videos, is based on the likes. And subscribe if you're not already subscribed to my channel. You get email notifications every time that I upload or even do live streams, because I do interact down in the chat with you guys if you guys have questions or specific feedback on the video in the real time. And I do have another study group, and it'll be on DSM-5 diagnosis and medications related to the specific diagnosis. the date of that study group is going to be next Sunday the 4th at 7 p.m. Eastern time, which with the time change converting up, I don't really have the conversions done out yet, but if you are interested, send me an email, reach out to me. And with that being said, thank you all so much for the support again. I really appreciate it. It makes making these videos and doing these study groups so much easier. And if I don't get back to you when you email me, I will get back to you. It's just I tend to have a pretty busy schedule at this time, but it should get less busy in the future. You guys are all amazing. Keep doing and fighting the good fight, and keep trying your best, because when you try your best, you get the best result and the best possible version of yourself. Again, thank you all, and I'll see you in the next video next week. Take care of yourself. Peace out, guys.